Thank you for joining our panel today on building decentralized ecosystems. One notable application of Goguen is native assets on Cardano. This is a third generation approach for asset creation, as we have a unified structure for how an asset is created and managed on the Cardano blockchain. We refer to this as the multi-asset ledger, and it's a cornerstone that enables Cardano to become a global financial operating system and serve as a platform for a multitude of businesses and applications to be launched. So I'm very happy today to discuss this with a few of the rising platforms on Cardano and hear more about their opportunities and the challenges that they face on deploying solutions on Cardano. So I'd like to hand this over to our moderator, Shiraz Ahmed from Crypto Valley Association. Hi, Shiraz.
Jeremy. Hey, thank you so much, Jeremy, for the introduction. And yes, speaking to you here from the Crypto Valley in Zug, whereby I'm the head of business development of the association and also the managing partner of Stone Partners. It's wonderful to be here today and taking the words of Cardano. Our world is changing, and together we can change it for the better. So today we'll find out more from our entrepreneurs here, panelists, how they are changing this world and making it a better place. So first off, from Occam.Fi, Elliot Hill, the director of communications, who is also ex-Cardano, actually. It's great to have you here. Elliot, maybe we just kick this off by you giving us a little bit of background about yourself and also the company you're representing today.
Hey Shiraz, thanks for having us here today, and hello to all the other presenters. It's really great to be here at the Cardano Summit 2021. So obviously, you mentioned that I had previously been with the Cardano Foundation, and in fact, I've actually been involved in Cardano since the early days. So 2017, so when I started posting on the forums, I'd only just got interested in blockchain. And I came from an academic background, studying for a PhD. So Cardano really interested me due to its academic approach. And it sort of made me leave my studies behind and go full pace into blockchain. So Cardano was really the catalyst that did that for me. So I've been with OccamFi now for around 6 months. We're a full stack DeFi ecosystem built specifically for Cardano. We're backed by both Emergo and C Fund, so that's affiliated with IOHK, so 2 official entities there. And we also have close links with the Cardano Foundation. So we have 3 main facets of the OccamFi DeFi ecosystem. So we've got our Occam Razor Launchpad, which is the one that probably most of the viewers are familiar with. So this is a decentralized launchpad for the next generation of Cardano, the apps that want to launch an IDO. We have the Accelerator program, which is an incubator. Through that, we take projects which maybe found, initial funding and initial support through Project Catalyst. Maybe they've raised some funds and they're ready to take it to the next level. So we can provide funding and guidance for them to take them all the way through from that early stage through to a point where they can launch an IDO on our launchpad. And then we have the OccamX DEX, which hopefully by the time this is live at the summit, we have a public demo for. And this is a decentralized exchange tailor-made for the Cardano native token environment. So we're really excited to bring that to market. It's going to be a major focus for us in the next couple of months. And to be part of that OccamX DEX, you also have to hold our OCC token, which also gives you access to projects coming through our launchpad. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon, some of which I'm sure we'll talk about later. So it's really great to be here today.
We can move to one of our second panelists in no specific order, of course, from CardStarter, Ashwin Somarsundaram, Senior Operations Advisor. How about you give us a little bit of background about yourself, Ashwin, and also CardStarter?
Sure. I hope you can hear me okay, but my name is Ashwin Somasundaram. I actually have a pretty non-traditional background, as most of my experience is in academia. And the reason for my involvement in the space was actually for fundraising and given the we'll say the scientific nature behind, and the peer-reviewed nature really is what I should say, behind Cardano, that became sort of a natural solution for where we would look to for a lot of the fundraising capabilities we wanted to build. So it became kind of natural that that's where we would want to go. And as smart contracts were coming live, we wanted to make sure we were able to build a platform that could fully utilize the power of Cardano to make sure that the first suite of projects that came out were able to harness the full capabilities of Cardano and make sure that they represented the space well. Certainly, we've seen with other chains that it really depends on what the first set of projects that come out are. They really define the space. So we wanted to make sure that Cardano was well represented. And so in a similar fashion, we are an insured accelerator and launchpad platform. And we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of wonderful projects incubated and accelerated through our launchpad. And I'm just happy to be here and happy to answer any questions.
Incredible, Ashwin. Thank you so much, and the power of Cardano. I really love that, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that can bring to the world, and maybe we just dig a little bit further. When I was doing a little bit of research about CardStarter, there's a very interesting component of what you guys do is tokenless raises. Do you want to give a little bit of context to our audience about what that entails?
Absolutely. So I've been in the space since 2017. Some people in our project have been in the space since 2011. And it's quite funny because those of us that have gone through 2017 will look at projects that are fully developed. They had Series A and external funding, and they were able to build out a full project and then use a token raise for who knows what reason. And it became very odd to me. They were raising $20–30 million for nothing, for vaporware. And these were things that were quite unacceptable, and they look very poor in the blockchain community as a whole. We find that to be unacceptable. So what we do is we want to make sure that there are projects that are built by wonderful teams, have good early tech, and actually need to raise funds to complete the business development side as well as the community bootstrapping side of their project. That's really what you need these funds for. So we are very stringent and very strict on how high the raise can be, and anytime someone says they need something over, say, 1.2, 1.5 mil, we have to raise our eyebrows and say, please show us your budget. What exactly are you doing with this money? Because we have to really make sure that we account for every bit of funds raised and every utility that their token can provide to make sure that they are actually representing the space well. So that's really one of the first core bits of ethos we do when screening for projects, and it's one of many, but I'm happy to go into more detail also.
Yes, thank you. And it's great to see that, let's say, responsibility layer there as well. And yes, there were a lot of, let's say, tokens that were vaporware. But thank you so much. We'll get into a little bit more detail in a bit. And of course, last but not least, Marco Mirabella, CEO of Ensuro. Please let us know a little bit about yourself and Ensuro.
Sure. So my name is Marco, originally from Italy. I'm currently living in Taiwan. Started my career here in the venture capital world, then moved to a blockchain company, e-commerce, and then back in blockchain. So Ensuro is essentially a decentralized capital provider for insurtech companies. What we are trying to do is to replace the role of insurance and use the blockchain in order to automatize most of the steps in the insurance value chain. So we use the concept of liquidity pool in order to then provide underwriting capacity to the insurtech companies that are creating innovative products, and they find difficulties when facing with the ancient world of reinsurance and inefficient world of the insurance companies.
No, great. Yeah, it's two new worlds, right? I mean, like the new world of DeFi reaching, let's say, the traditional world of insurance. That's incredible. And I mean, you mentioned earlier, I mean, DeFi capital to the insurtech world. Can you give us a little bit, maybe a bit more context on how you're making, let's say, that bridge happen?
Yep. So we collect capital under the form of stable coins from different liquidity providers inside a liquidity pool. And then this liquidity pool is used to provide underwriting capacity to the insurtech companies. Every time an insurtech company sells a product to the policyholder, it will transfer the premium to our pool, and then we will lock a certain portion of the overall capital in order to guarantee solvency of the policy. And then if there's an event, we use oracles in order to trigger the smart contracts and release funds to the policyholder. And this system allows the policyholders and the entire value chain to optimize many of the steps that currently are done manually by insurance and reinsurance companies. And one of the steps that we're doing that is different from other players in the space is to get an actual license. So we're applying for a license as an insurance company in Bermuda that we found to be very open to this kind of initiative. And this will allow us to act as a traditional insurance company and provide capacity in a compliant way.
Wonderful. That's great to see that you're even, let's say, combining, let's say, the regulatory side with what you're doing, as I believe it's quite important for let's say, the longevity of the projects within the space. But we'll get into a little bit more detail a little bit later on, and maybe, let's say, decomplexify some of what we've discussed so far. And Elliot, maybe you can kick things off and give us a little bit of a reasoning why you picked Cardano for this new project. I mean, of course, you're ex-Cardano, so that's probably you're probably going to give maybe a little bit of a biased answer here, but there must have been a reasoning for why you're, let's say, continued down this path.
Yeah, that's a good question. So why did we choose Cardano? I mean, obviously, I've given some background that I've previously been affiliated with Cardano. But also some of our other, founders and the founders of the Occam Association have very close links to Cardano. So our association president, Mark Berger, he's from Switzerland, and he's based in Cardano, in Crypto Valley, Zug, which is obviously where the Cardano Foundation is also based. So there's a lot of deep links there. But I think in actual fact, to look at why we chose Cardano specifically as a blockchain to focus on, we should probably look at why we're not so interested in focusing on other blockchains. So at the moment, we are launched through Solidity smart contracts. So Occam Razor is powered by Solidity smart contracts on Ethereum. And already we're seeing and feeling the pain points there. So the transaction fees are huge. We've also always had an ethos of being a decentralized launchpad whereby anyone, even if they're a token holder with many thousands of dollars locked into our ecosystem, or maybe just a few $100, they should have equal and equitable chances of getting in on an IDO or being part of these early stage companies building for Cardano. And at the moment, we just can't really offer that. Us, and I'm sure as many other launchpads would agree, whilst we're still on the Ethereum network. So quite often the transaction fees on Ethereum will be equal to or even greater than the amount that someone would want to contribute. And also, that's just, even if you have the funds to cover that transaction fee, why should there be such a high barrier to entry? And I think this probably brings up a deeper and wider point as to why we chose Cardano. Decentralized finance is only going to become truly decentralized when everyone in the world can access it. And at the moment, that's simply not true, and it's not the case. We have a very fortunate position, probably in developed countries, which I'm sure many people watching, probably come from, that, to us, it may seem steep that we have to spend a few $100s on a transaction cost. It may not be a barrier to entry, but for probably 90% of the world, and especially those in developing nations, this is simply like a total barrier to get involved in the DeFi ecosystem. And not only is that not fair, but it just recreates probably some of the problems that we have in centralized systems, whereby the infrastructure simply doesn't exist. In blockchain at the moment, it does exist, but it's not accessible, and that again doesn't set up the equitable world that we want for DeFi. And I think and the rest of the team at Occam.Fi believes Cardano is one of the most promising blockchains that will change that. So obviously with incredibly cost-effective transactions, the batching of native tokens, the way in which many people from across the world can send and transact in a borderless nature, but at a fraction of the cost of Cardano, of Ethereum, sorry. So I think there's a massive opportunity there for a truly inclusive DeFi ecosystem that it doesn't discriminate on users depending on how many funds they have or what their net worth is. It's a truly open solution, and that for us is important for the future of not just DeFi but the whole of the financial space. And this has already been reflected in things like World Mobile Token and the work that IOHK is doing in Ethiopia and across the African continent. So we're really excited to be part of probably this blueprint for the future of finance as we see it. And that's why we primarily chose to build on Cardano.
Maybe Marco, Ashwin, do you have anything to add on to what Elliot said with regards to why you both picked Cardano? Anything, let's say, any additional advantages that you saw?
Okay. Yeah, what we liked in Ensuro is the RealFi concept. So the ability to use, as I was saying, the blockchain in order to democratize many of the aspects in our life that we currently give for granted. One of the things that we notice is that in a micro insurance space or in insurance product with low premiums, so low cost, that are covering farmers and in emerging markets and other players in the emerging market, the cost is a very important factor. So the ability to have low transaction cost is essentially a condition, an essential condition in order to provide services to that part of the world that right now it's uncovered. So that's one of the reasons why we decided to jump on Cardano.
Thank you. Ashwin, you wanted to comment further on that?
Sure. Number one, it's peer-reviewed. Number two, it's a layer one solution. So there are a lot of scalable layer twos, but we really are excited the fact that this is a layer one solution that is also very scalable. Number three, touched on by Elliot and Marco wonderfully. It really does create a lot of equity in the space, in the community, especially at a global level, which I think is incredibly important. So one great project that we recently had go through our platform is World Mobile Token. And to achieve what they want to achieve at a global level, you really do need something like Cardano. You need something that can allow for, we'll say, equitable decentralized finance, not just decentralized finance for the select few. And I think that's where we all kind of converge and we all agree on that.
Very interesting with regards to layer one scalability. And I want to touch on now a little bit about, let's say, the ecosystem. A little bit about, if you can give us some context, Ashwin, or your thoughts on why you believe that there's a need for specific applications to be built on top of Cardano in terms of building an ecosystem, a community around Cardano.
Well, I would say that's really the fun of blockchain. The power of it is actually being able to decentralize the finance that exists in the regular world. So much of fiat currency is controlled by certain organizations, just a few organizations, and unfortunately there's a lack of transparency, there's a lack of responsibility and accountability. A lot of this goes away with decentralization. It's not a perfect solution and there are growing pains that come with this, but Cardano represents that very well. Certain blockchains are a little bit more centralized. There are benefits to that, especially that can be passed on to the user. But we want to make sure that that there's a good balance, and Cardano is able to achieve that, and that's one of the things that we see right away. And then the underlying language itself is actually pretty well established and utilized by, we'll say, governments and NGOs and financial institutions. That, I think, will translate well in the future for the expansion of Cardano as a whole. These are things that I think will benefit the entire ecosystem, and that's why we need to build on Cardano and why Cardano needs things built upon it.
Great, thank you. That's very, very, very well said. And so now, Marco, I mean, you touched on something that's very interesting, right? Going after, let's say, a license now, becoming more regulated, which to a certain extent can be seen in many people's eyes as, let's say, a more centralized approach. Where do you see the middle ground here between, let's say, creating a decentralized ecosystem around, let's say, Cardano, and let's say bridging that gap towards, let's say, the centralized world as well, especially in the insurance space?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's a topic of debate that we see a lot in the crypto industry, and probably the wider blockchain and fintech industries as well. How do we match like the founding tenets of blockchain technology, which is open access and probably decentralized access with that level of anonymity, with keep in check with regulation. On the one hand, I see that probably as a industry as a whole, we have probably a glass ceiling of growth if we decide to go down the unregulated route, and regulators around the world will to some extent make it difficult for blockchain as an industry to thrive if it refuses to play ball with regulation. But then I think we could probably look a little more deeply at what kind of users want a regulated approach and what kind of users don't want a regulated approach. So for me, I've been in blockchain for a number of years now. I feel perfectly comfortable managing my private keys. I have a ledger device. I know the risks involved. I know that if I lose my private key, it's gone. I'm solely responsible for that. I know that managing access and permissions to my wallets is something that, the sovereign responsibility lies in me. But at the same time, especially this year with the current bull run, I know a lot of friends and family members that have gotten involved in crypto for the first time, and they simply don't really, they understand, but they sort of think it's a bit crazy, this approach of you are totally responsible for your financial sovereignty. And I think that that's something that only really lends itself probably to the crypto nerds and the true libertarians that got involved in crypto early on. And I think that subsection of the crypto industry will also always find a way to keep it, in keeping with the original founding principles and philosophy of decentralization. That does exist. You can have non-custodial wallets that don't require any information. You just have a private key to access it. Like MetaMask, it doesn't collect any user information. And I'm sure like Card Wallet and things like that, there will be solutions like that available for Cardano. And Daedalus as well doesn't require you to have any personal information affiliated with it. And then there's always going to be that segment of the market like Coinbase and Crypto.com, where they have to regulate themselves and they have to comply with local regulation in the jurisdictions in which they operate. But by extension and because of that, they can offer a much better or a much more increased level of customer service to people who probably wouldn't feel comfortable managing their own accounts and access to those accounts. So I think we're going to have both. OccamFi is a decentralized ecosystem. Everyone is responsible for their private keys. Everyone's responsible for their own financial sovereignty on Occam. But at the same time, we think it's just as important to have these regulated entities who can probably bring some of the products that people are used to in, from the traditional financial world. So like, almost like challenger banks, which are regulated, and package those with crypto products. And that's a gateway for more people to learn about crypto and then maybe trickle down into the non-custodial options and the options that are a bit more focused around financial sovereignty. So I don't think either one is going to win. I think regulation is incredibly important if we're going to attract, we talk a lot about mass adoption. If we're going to have mass adoption, we're going to need regulated products in the crypto space. Otherwise, it'll just be forever the realm of like cyberpunks and libertarians who want to use these self-sovereign systems, but those groups are fairly small. So I think if we want to grow as an ecosystem, we need to keep pace with regulation, and we need to take both paths on equal footing.
Yeah, so we decided to go on a regulated path in order to tap into the existing network in the insurance space. So essentially, there's a high numbers of companies that are regulated and created a products and an ecosystem around insurance. And it's for us important to tap into that initially to create a foothold and impact. What I'm seeing in the future, it's a mix between the two solutions. So use decentralized infrastructure at the bottom that gives transparency and security to the system, and then create layers, more centralized layers on top of it. So in that way, you can comply to the different regulations, but still use an underlying infrastructure that's extremely ordered or more efficient than the traditional financial system that we're on. That's kind of my take on this.
Yeah, with regulated solutions, one of the interesting things with using, the Cardano blockchain is how you interact, right? So instead of just utilizing a daedalus wallet by itself, you have a KYC process attached to wallets or a white labeling system. And, the ability to utilize the same infrastructure, but in multiple ways, I feel is kind of a great advantage for both, Marco, Ashwin, and Elliot when they're delivering unique solutions. I'm not sure if either of you have actually, looked at what's available and creatively tried to create your own type of solution. Like we saw before with, with Meld and SundaySwap doing like an initial stake pool offering, and how that was utilizing the stake pool operator network in a way that wasn't originally intended. So when we talk about, that's a great example for me about how you can utilize existing infrastructure in a unique and interesting way.
Absolutely. I mean, not to give too much away, but obviously, we work with the folks at SundaySwap. They're doing amazing things. But certainly being able to utilize the existing technology that exists on Cardano, obviously one of the things that hasn't been played up enough, I believe, is identity solutions. And when we're talking about mixing decentralized finance with regulation, especially as you were saying, if you have, for example, a Daedalus or Jira wallet or some sort of wallet app, and then you're actually combining that with, say, KYC, if you have an identity solution that acts as an intermediary, there's a lot of cool things that you can do, especially from a regulatory standpoint. So you're able to mix the two together. And I do see regulated solutions as the future that we really need to be building upon to make sure that traditional finance takes blockchain technology as seriously as it should, especially as a contender for a lot of the modern solutions we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, given how scalable Cardano is as a layer 1 solution, I ought to think that the terms should be redefined so you have layer 2 applications.
Yeah, to touch upon to add on what Jeremy was saying, we saw the advent of APIs in the banking system and the kind of revolution that they created. And what I see in blockchain is that having a layer of API that is compatible among each other. So you have integration problems, so you can use an underlying network that is used by anyone. So we see that a revolution with simple APIs in the banking. We will see a much greater revolution with blockchains and their advantages. So, and using APIs, you can plug different type of systems, so KYCs or services or any other product glue together and create innovative products. So that's extremely exciting.
We discussed a little bit about it before, but the concurrency problems, right? The challenges ahead and the ways forward. I mean, would you like to give us a little bit of context about what the concurrency problems can be, and a little bit about the way you see things moving forward on that front?
Yeah, so the subject of concurrency obviously kicked off a whole lot of controversy within the Cardano ecosystem not too long ago. So with the launch of Alonso on the testnet, obviously MinSwap launched their demo, so the first public demo, and with it came a whole slew of questions about how concurrency works. And MinSwap took an incredibly brave move there to be the first to allow a public demo of their DEX. So obviously there was there was a lot of moving parts there, and there was a lot of concepts through that demo that perhaps, you know, people didn't understand up until that point about Cardano. So at OccamFi, we've likened the concurrency problem to multiple people trying to use a vending machine at the same time. So obviously vending machines are very similar to the UTXO model. You put money in and you get a transaction out. You always have that unspent transaction, which is the money in your wallet until the point at which it's spent. But because of that, you know, multiple parties, because it's, you know, not built the same way as Ethereum is, they can't use the vending machine at once, and then therefore we have to find novel ways for workarounds to let people interface with the smart contract all at one time, because obviously this is needed for a high volume DEX. So naturally, if you could only have one transaction every block or something like that, it would become cripplingly slow. So there's a number of workarounds that are in the pipeline. So SundaySwap are working on one. MinSwap have their own solution in the pipeline. We've got a solution in the pipeline as well. And the real challenge here is bringing a solution to concurrency that is both you know, cognizant of the UTXO accounting model and remains and brings the same security guarantees through UTXO, but also brings a sufficiently decentralized way to process those transactions all at once within the same block. So that's really been the challenge here, finding you know, that balance between a centralized solution. A lot of solutions that have been proposed for concurrency at the moment, they do unfortunately introduce a level of centralization to the DEX, which is obviously not desirable at all if we're going to have a true DEX built on Cardano. So one of the things that we've done at OccamX is looked at how we might take these transactions, batch them together as they're happening, and then execute them off-chain, but still in a decentralized manner. I know that SundaySwap have got their own way of doing it as well. I don't think, you know, if we look at, so just maybe looking at it as more of an ecosystem-wide problem or challenge, should I say. You know, Ethereum's been here now and had smart contracts for a few years, and they've had their fair share of problems. There's been exploits, there's been a lot of on-chain value lost. They've had challenges, you know, they had challenges around their DAO. They've had challenges around shipping ETH 2.0. Concurrency was the first major challenge that the Cardano community has faced, and within 24 hours of that concurrency problem being brought to the forefront of debate in the Cardano ecosystem, we had multiple projects like SundaySwap, like Occam, all of these projects built on Cardano coming out with what their solutions would be, why it really wasn't a problem for the whole entire blockchain, and how we were going to overcome it. And I think that's probably the most important thing to focus on when we talk about concurrency or any problem on Cardano. They will crop up probably, this is a new blockchain. We've only just had the full rollout of smart contracts, but it's about how we approach them as an ecosystem and how quickly we can move and come together and find solutions, as a coherent blockchain community. And look how many people have turned up for the summit. I think we have one of the strongest ecosystems in the whole of blockchain. Challenges are going to happen. People are going to have different ways of doing things. There is going to be, things that we have to overcome as a blockchain community down the line. But I think that Cardano is probably one of the most powerful communities to achieve that. And also because of the way that Cardano is implemented in UTXO model, although we might face problems such as concurrency and challenges, and we might have to overcome those in the future, the actual risk of loss is far, far lower. And so, although we might have things that we need to improve on, at least we hugely reduce the margin of risk for new projects built on Cardano. And I think that's going to be one of the most attractive aspects of the Cardano blockchain in the future.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, and I see Ashwin moving his head a lot there. I feel like from the academic standpoint, you might have something to say.
No, I mean people call it a problem, but it's really more of an opportunity. There's a lot of smart people in the space, and there's a lot of great solutions that we've heard. Obviously, we have a lot of projects that are building on us and through us, and we have to make sure that they have good solutions to this. Yeah, I really like the vending machine analogy. The other one I hear a lot is it's basically the riddle of you need to send mail to 300 people, but you can only go to the mailbox or the post office once a month. How do you do it? The reality is there's multiple solutions to that question, and it's exciting to see exactly how people are solving it in different ways that's unique to their app and unique to their program. And I think we're going to learn a lot. And as Elliot said, yeah, I don't think that the rollout of smart contracts is the end. It's just the beginning. And there's a lot of really exciting stuff that I'm already seeing. And some of it being proprietary, there's not a ton I can share, but I think it's pretty obvious to a lot of the folks that have built in the space that there's a lot of unique solutions that are right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, one of these applications that I think has not really been touched on too much is the fact that you can send multiple assets and different assets within one transaction. So, if we're talking about interoperability, for crypto assets and how you can interact with different projects, I think this is something that a lot of people will start exploring over the next few months, and you'll see some really interesting use cases. I have seen that with, NFTs, and how, like, if you're doing a collection, if you submit 10 different NFTs, that unlocks a special one that's combining all 10, and that's the only way to receive that asset. So there's a lot of, you can think about that in like evolution and put that into gaming worlds. Tons of fun things can happen due to the actual structure of Cardano smart contracts and the blockchain.
Yes. No, thank you. Ashwin, anything you wanted to add on to that? I saw the microphone going on and off a little bit.
No, it's just exciting to hear. There's a lot of the reality is a lot of the developers are used to Solidity and they're used to what you can build on Ethereum. And as Jeremy pointed out, there's a lot of exciting stuff that you can do that's unique to Cardano. And as people get used to that, they're going to see how powerful Cardano really is. And I'm excited to see that too.
Wonderful. Exciting times, really exciting times. And Marco, it must be great from your side, from the insurance part, finally smart contracts being here. How do you feel about that situation?
Yeah, we're extremely excited about that. So the ability to use a smart contract language that is secure and is used by other financial institutions, it's a sign of trust and that we can give to the regulators. So it's something that can definitely help our path. And to add on the concurrency problem, Cardano is building something new. And by building something new, you have challenges. What it has done before is to create a community of people attached to it, and a lot of smart people are working on it. So I'm very excited to see what solution will come out.
Thank you. And building on, let's say, this hype and excitement, and maybe even sharing some of this excitement with the audience, Marco, what is maybe one reason you believe like now is the right time to be launching on Cardano or to be developing on Cardano?
Yep. You can see the analogy of people building for App Store when the iPhone was created. So you have this great technology that's available to people, and it's early. So a lot of the interest come into this new blockchain and protocol, and by creating there, you have immediate accessibility to this group of people and passionate that they can give initial feedback, they can help you update and perfection the product. So we'll see a lot of value there.
Ashwin, you're coming from, let's say, the academic side, having, let's say, multiple different, let's say, profiles joining this space more and more. Maybe you can give us some context on why you believe, let's say, maybe or maybe not, more individuals from academia should be coming into the blockchain space, and even, let's say, discovering further what Cardano can bring to the world.
There's multiple reasons. I mean, you know, as a physician scientist, one of the biggest things that I actually am looking forward to for blockchain technology is solutions for a lot of healthcare related problems. One of the biggest issues right now is the fact that we do not have this is just one example of 1,000, but we don't have a universal electronic medical record. You need some secure entity that's able to convey all this information externally. So being able to do this on a secure blockchain is one of the things that has gotten me most excited about Cardano since its inception. One of the things, obviously, I'd like to build that is a real world solution that no one has been able to solve. There are solutions, obviously, that a lot of us in the academic and healthcare space can think of, and being able to build something exciting like that, you know, I only see them utilizing something like Cardano, something that would be peer-reviewed, secure, something that would be proven and utilized by well-established institutions. You know, there are some things that people aren't going to use Solidity for, so it's important that this is established early, and if certain projects are able to set precedent with Cardano being that standard, I think it really kind of sets the tone. And those are some of the things I'd like to see just off the bat. There's a lot more I could get into, especially with regards to decentralized research, decentralized fundraising for charitable organizations. These are all things that really, I think, would appeal to traditional finance and utilizing Cardano specifically. But, you know, that only time will tell, but I'm very optimistic.
Thank you. And as we're edging towards the end here, maybe, Jeremy, you can give us some, let's say, not insider info, but let's say from you being within, living and breathing the Cardano ecosystem from the inside, to tell the audience a little bit today, and actually even leading the partnership side on why individuals should be getting involved today. Why is it the right time?
Cardano is designed for a lot of advanced functionality, but with that is a high degree of flexibility and customization. So about 14 months ago, one of the earliest features of Goguen that was released was transaction metadata. And transaction metadata is a core component of creating an asset. Because just like you would use transaction metadata to describe a transaction or leave data on a blockchain, it's the same process to leave data that's describing an asset. And you're able to use, in a JSON file, can be, you know, machine-to-machine communication. So if you think about that and building out an application, you're able to actually have like an automated systems where data can be verified and checked. Not only that, but with the ability to easily add web links, links to documents, you know, a lot of multimedia assets. It really blurs the lines between utility tokens, security tokens, and NFTs as we traditionally see them, and we more focus on valuable assets and ecosystems. So that level of flexibility is what I think is really important, because you've seen a lot of ideas in the past. We were talking a lot about 2017. The question I always get when I'm speaking to partners is, you know, well, why haven't we done this before? And, you know, now it's 2021. We are still early. But I think the next 12 months, you'll see a lot of exciting growth here, because a lot of people, how they envision using the blockchain, they're now able to on Cardano, because you're not having any sort of restrictions that you see elsewhere.
Wow. Incredible, even inspiring, I would say. And Elliot, I think you're back with us now. Unfortunately, we are wrapping up the session shortly. Do you have any final words, Elliot, for our audience today?
Yeah, sure. So obviously the last words, I think most relevant for today, the Cardano 2021 Summit, is congratulations both to the engineering teams at IOHK, all the guys at the Cardano Foundation, a lot of my ex-colleagues who I really enjoyed working with. I know how hard not only they worked to bring us Alonzo and smart contracts, but also to make it possible that we're all here today. So yeah, a huge thank you to those guys. I'm really excited to see what Emergo does in the next couple of months. Obviously, Emergo is built for, catalyzing these companies and projects building on Cardano. So like now is their time. We're at such an exciting time for the Cardano ecosystem. It's been 4 years of building and ideation before that. And obviously, we can't stop now because we've only just begun. This is the start of Cardano now. But I still think that we could take stock and give everyone involved, the community too, that's been involved in the Cardano blockchain, a huge congratulations and a pat on the back, because it's took a lot of effort to get here. And hopefully we have a very, very bright future ahead for Cardano. So thanks for having us, and hope everyone enjoys the rest of the summit.
Great, thank you, Elliot. Ashwin, any final words from your side?
Oh, just thanks for having us, and I look forward to seeing more exciting things in the future. And I hope to collaborate more and build exciting new things with everyone here. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Marco.
Yep, thanks for having me today, and I'm looking forward to see the results of the collaboration between different groups and different people in the Cardano ecosystem.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for being with us here today and all of these insights. And Jeremy, back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank all of you. I mean, today and now it's your time to shine, right? You are the entities that's creating utility for Cardano. So, it's truly a thank you for participating and building out these applications. That's what takes us further, and that's how we reach, greater adoption. So yeah, thank you all for coming today, and enjoy the rest of the 2021 Cardano Summit.